And there we go. Of course, we did a little analysis a second ago there. I believe that is Shoma's team on screen here. We can go over it real quick again. It's that Kangaskhan, Heatran, Thundurus, Landorus, Cresselia, as well as Amoonguss that we were hinting at a little bit earlier. The two interesting Pokemon you got to watch out for, again, on Shoma's team are going to be the Heatran and Amoonguss, which are different from Hideyuki's team, which is Kangaskhan, Cresselia, Aegislash, Thundurus, Landorus, and Volcarona. So the different Pokemon there being Volcarona and, of course, Aegislash.
Yeah, I won't be too surprised to see both Aegislash and Amoonguss in this battle. Both of them are pretty good against some Pokemon on the opposing team. Amoonguss especially a Pokemon that you bring to help deal with Pokemon like Kangaskhan, so if you can't bring it in this matchup, certainly I could wonder what it's there for.
Exactly, Scott. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what they chose to do with their similar Pokemon, right? Like, the movesets can vary, and items as well.
And one thing I think is interesting that both of them agreed on was that they actually have Protect in both of their Thundurus. Typically not a decision we see made, but both these guys, and one of the Cresselia too actually have a Protect. They really like being able to play defensively.
They are locked in. The crowd is going wild as they are anticipating an epic match here between two incredible players. Now, as we see Shoma toss out his first two Pokemon, it's going to be a Landorus Heatran lead there for Shoma on the top, and Hideyuki bringing the Aegislash and the Kangaskhan, and the Intimidates are going to go ahead and get fired off here. Going to reduce the attack of Kangaskhan and Aegislash by one stage each.
So we see two of the Pokemon that are unique to each trainer, both the Steel-type Pokemon, Aegislash and Heatran. Heatran pretty good in that matchup as a Fire-type Pokemon, but Aegislash also has the advantage of being out here, at least not being affected by the Intimidate from Landorus, and pending how much Shoma knows about the Aegislash, has to be a little bit concerned about the potential of Wide Guard messing with both Heat Wave and Earthquake here. Unfortunately, I don't believe that the Aegislash has Wide Guard, but maybe he knows that, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they matched up a little bit earlier in the tournament, or maybe they took a little bit of time to scout out the teams. You never know what can happen here, but both of these players did as much as they could to potentially prepare. We see Hideyuki actually switching out the Aegislash now and bringing in his own Landorus. Going to go ahead and get an Intimidate onto the Landorus there of Shoma, as well as the Heatran, which will be reducing their attack by one stage. And right after this Kangaskhan goes Mega, I do believe that we will start to see some moves from both of our competitors. And there it is, a big superpower into that Kangaskhan, but the Intimidate really protecting it, as well as the potential training here. That Kangaskhan really eating that up. We see the stat drops there, and Kangaskhan hitting right back with a power-up punch, getting its attack boosted a little bit here, but depending on where the Heatran has decided to attack or what it is going to do, this could be a bad time for Kangaskhan. Let's see what we get from Shoma there. It's a connect on the Heat Wave. He's excited about it. How much damage will it do? No, Kangaskhan hanging on with 17 hit points, and Landorus still in there with 83, about 50%.
Yeah, I mean, Landor's still in there, and Kangaskhan as well, but that's a lot of damage to take on the first turn. Even getting that power-up punch, Kangaskhan is at one level of raised attack, but that's at a huge cost. This Kangaskhan has been trained to be extremely powerful defensively, still nearly gets knocked out in a single turn. The one advantage is that the Landor's on the other side now. 2 levels of reduced attack, 1 level of reduced defense. It's not going to be able to do a whole lot. Very tempting to switch here, though. With Kangaskhan being so weak, I can still choose to use an attack and knock it out. But it's going to be very important now for Hideyuki to try to do something to get some better board position. I can't just lose these Pokemon for free and not get something out of it, or he's going to fall too far behind to take this first game.
And both players waiting until the final moments here to lock in their moves. We did see that Landorus definitely outspeed there in that previous turn, so that could be enough to get rid of him. And I think we saw a Rock Slide miss there as it connects on one of these Pokemon, and Kangaskhan dodges it. That is absolutely huge. Oh, and there we go. The berry does come out there for the Heatran. It looks like it is going to be a Shuka Berry. Should reduce the damage of this, and I do not think the Landorus... Wow! What just happened? Are you kidding me? Sacrificing the Kangaskhan there to pick up the feint on the Heatran, and that was absolutely incredible amounts of damage onto the Heatran with a Shuka Berry. Are you kidding me? But it doesn't affect the opposing Landorus.
Yeah, that damage to the Power Punch actually made a big deal. The Shuka Berry not able to allow Heatran to survive the Earthquake. And we do end up with the Pokemon, or both players having 3 Pokemon remaining in spite of how bad the beginning of that game looked. I also have to feel a little bit bad for the poor Kangaskhan there. It dodges that Rock Slide. It looks like it's going to get to survive the turn. I mean, its own Landorus knocks it out.
Yeah, how unfortunate. Maybe just not anticipating making it through that turn anyway. So what's the risk in that? And unfortunately, you see how that can play out sometimes.
Yeah, it's still a good play, though. I mean,
yes,
definitely worth it. Get rid of that Heatran, make a clean trade there, and at least end up in a pretty good position. You know, the Landorus on one side is very low in health, but since the other one has the reduced levels of attack and defense, it's actually pretty even positioning right now.
Both players taking a minute to choose this next Pokemon, bringing the Aegislash, I think, back in here, but now Shoma revealing the Thundurus.
Yeah, Thundurus, really cool Pokemon. I like the way both these players have chosen to use their Thundurus. The one on this side has got safety goggles, which will help with the Mungus, which unfortunately is only on his team.
Yes.
So no item essentially on the Thundurus for this matchup. Thunderbolt, Swagger, Thunderwave, and Protect the moveset. Notable here because it doesn't have a way to damage this Landorus. It's actually very good positioning now for Hideyuki, even though he'd been losing at the beginning of the game. Landorus weakened enough that Earthquake's not going to do very much to this Aegislash. Thundurus can't attack Landorus at all. Might be time for everyone's favorite move, Swagger.
That could come into play here as we see the switch out for Shoma, bringing in a new Pokemon into the spot of the Landorus, and it's going to be Kangaskhan, Shoma's mega Pokemon. A Thunderwave now, maybe just trying to stop the Aegislash from even attacking at this point. And we're going to get a move here now from Hideyuki. It's going to be a Rock Slide. Should do quite a bit of damage. Super effective, of course, against the flying typing there of the Thundurus. And Kangaskhan not taking too much, really showing its defensive training there. Oh, and the paralysis, it pays off exactly what Shoma wanted.
Yeah, I mean, Thunderwave kind of a nice thing to get on there rather than the Swagger. You're less likely to stop the attack, but, you know, the paralysis will stick for the rest of the battle, and, like, you know, Confusion, which you can switch out of. Even though he had the lower chance there, only a 25% chance to be fully paralyzed instead of 50 from Confusion, he gets it. Now he can Swagger this turn if he wants to and prevents all that damage. So Thunderous able to survive the turn probably because of that. And, again, momentum might be shifting, this time back to Shoma.
Definitely shifting right back to Shoma on that. A huge play. Sometimes the risk-reward moves do pay off, and that one did right there as Shoma probably deciding to go Mega here and maybe threatening with a potential fake out. And if Hideyuki decides to attack, could get hurt pretty hard if he's got that. If he's got a move to hit into that slot with Kangaskhan. Now we see the switch into Volcarona here as Kangaskhan does go Mega. You never want to see a Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan if you're Aegislash. It's not going to be a good time. But the Volcarona does come in here, and a Thunder Wave, very, very nice from Shoma on the top screen there. Great call, and a huge anticipation because Thunder Wave would do absolutely nothing. Oh, and another paralysis there. And, of course, like I said, Thunderwave would have done absolutely nothing to Landorus.
And Kangaskhan also doing nothing there, Sucker Punching into the air. But pretty interesting turn. You know, Volcarona switching in there, anticipating that there'd probably be a Sucker Punch into the Landorus slot to prevent it from attacking. But cleverly, Thunderwave's the same slot. So even though Sucker Punch doesn't do anything, that final Pokemon now paralyzed. And Volcarona won't be doing any Quiver Dancing without, at least if it does any Quiver Dancing, it's not be going too quickly while it's paralyzed. So a great way to slow down this Volcarona. And also, again, to see one of the Pokemon that's different between the two teams.
Yeah, Shoma definitely setting himself up for victory in match number 1 of the grand finals here, but Hideyuki definitely no slouch and has probably played out a way worse situations than this. And we see Aegislash finally getting through the paralysis there, manages to go shield form and will be protecting itself, hopefully from any attacks, but maybe not a Swagger, depending on what we see from Shoma here, who has decided to actually Swagger the Volcarona, now kind of locked into paralysis and a potential confusion here. So will it hit through is the question as we get another move from the Pokemon here. Let's see what it can be. Oh my gosh, it does hit through with, I think, a flamethrower. Not quite enough to finish off the Thundurus.
And that flamethrower, it seemed like for sure it knocked out the Thundurus, and that would have been a big deal. You know, part of why Hideyuki chose to withdraw his Landorus earlier was to save that Intimidate that Landorus brings. The final two Pokemon, if Thundurus was knocked out, would have been Kangaskhan and Landorus. Both of whom are physical attackers, so getting that Intimidate on them would have been big. Now still has the option to switch if Landorus comes in, at least for a little while longer. But Thundurus certainly not going to be able to attack or take any more attacks from anything at this point.
Yep, and then definitely Kangaskhan not being able to really do much here. Maybe Shoma needing to go on the offensive with it. Nice Swagger there, or into that Aegislash slot there. Going to go ahead and confuse it. Will it manage to hit through? We haven't seen much at all, and there it is, a return from Kangaskhan into that Volcarona slot, taking quite a bit of damage there. Yes, from that burn there, I think the Flame Body activating. And here we go. Will it be able to hit through confusion is the question. No, it hits itself. Huge. Shoma very excited. Volcarona hanging in there with 5 hit points. Aegislash now going into blade form. Shoma needs something to happen here. Will it be confused? Will it be paralyzed? What is going to happen? It gets through. It's going to be a flash cannon onto the Kangaskhan that is burned, and I think the burn will go ahead and finish it up. The Mega falls for Shoma, and Hideyuki seem to be turning this match around.
Yeah, very big to finally get an attack through. You know, with that paralysis and the confusion on these Pokemon, they're more likely not to be able to attack than to attack. But Volcarona cleverly turning this around by doing damage by being attacked. It has that Rocky Helmet and the Flame Body ability. One of the great reasons to use Volcarona, it's one of the lesser seen Fire-type Pokemon, but every time that Kangaskhan hits it, it's got a pretty good chance of getting burned. And since it hits twice with every attack, it cannot use a Parental Bond against it.
And it does look like we get the Landorus here now from Shoma, of course, being the final Pokemon there, which does leave that Landorus for Hideyuki to come back in and go ahead and maybe get an Intimidate onto the Landorus of Shoma that is essentially stuck in for the rest of the match here. Although Landorus being quite a threatening Pokemon here in this situation.
Yeah, the full health Landorus on that side of the field, even if he does get intimidated once, is in pretty good position here. The enemy Landorus much weaker on Hideyuki's side, so even though there's a Pokemon advantage, I think actually Shoma's still in a little bit better position.
And both trainers playing very defensively here with only 5 minutes left on the clock. It's really just flying by at this point. I can't believe that we're that deep into this matchup here. And a switch from Hideyuki definitely going to reduce the attack of Shoma's Landorus there, as well as the Thunderous on that side. And Aegislash trying to go for something here. It looks like it's paralyzed. Shoma throwing his arms up, very excited to see this happen here as he goes for the Earthquake in the blade form of Aegislash. Will it be enough? 35 hit points. Oh my gosh, that Intimidate paying off big time and activating the weakness policy.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and Thunderbolt's going to come in and knock out the Aegislash.
Finishing it off, so it looks like just a little too late on that weakness policy.
Yeah, that paralysis is a big deal, too. It's what I was kind of excited about there. It has Shadow Sneak, not something we see too frequently, mostly on Battle Spot, I guess, which makes sense, I guess, as one of the best Battle Spot players using that Aegislash. You know, Shadow Sneak would have knocked out that Thunderous, allowed for a 3-to-1 advantage, but the paralysis works. Thunderous survives yet another turn, and it looks like Shoma's going to be able to take this first game here. Big lead.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting with the final plays here. I don't think that Volcarona's got much time left on it with that paralysis there, of course. Won't be outspeeding any Pokemon anytime soon here. Thunderous not really going to do much, but I think we'll see these Landers face off, and it looks like Shoma probably in a better position.
Yeah, unless it happens that... there's a slower, or that Shotus is, let's just go.
Yeah, let's just take a look at it. It looks like it's going to be a knockoff here, actually, from Shoma, doing quite a bit of damage there and knocking off an item there, and we get the Thunderbolt. Going to go ahead and finish off the Volcarona, and a very, very weak Landorus there on Hideyuki's side. It's going to be a Rock Slide. Should pick up the feint, of course. Oh my gosh, the Rock Slide dodge. Are you absolutely kidding me?
Yeah, Thunderous came to play here for the World Finals.
Yeah.
Seems like it should have fainted about 7 times now, but just surviving this battle. I was going to say is that all that really could happen here is if Shoma's Landorus was slower, it could lose to a series of Rock Slides. It doesn't look like that's going to happen here. It ends up being quicker, wisely knockoffs for the 100% accuracy, and should be able to close the game out.
That is it. Shoma throwing a fist up in celebration to the fans out there. Let's hear it, guys, as Shoma takes game number 1 of the Grand Finals match. Of match number 1 of match final.
Looks pretty intense over there, right? That's a very close game. I think both players realize